no. It's starting again. It's amazing. Everything's changing. Everything. Everything is mutating, and I haven't even moved. I don't understand. I don't understand anything.
Prima dare il braccialetto.
Go through that gate, and I'll blow your head off.
Do you need to get a closer look at what I have on my wrist?
Wait a minute. Look, he's got on one of those ID bracelets the camp moles wear. Those cockroaches are very useful to us in here. Lower your gun and let him leave.
You heard him. Get out of here, rats.
So, I enter the city. It welcomes me with its most merciless and bitter grimace. What I see before my eyes is not what I expected. Doomsday made it here, too. Even if no one in the refugee camp knows it yet. Damn it. The city looks as bruised and battered by the catastrophe as the rest of us.
Allora.
It's the silhouette of the soldiers guarding the street from around the corner. It seems like those uniformed psychopaths' rifles are projected onto each and every corner of the city.
Vediamo un po' cosa.
What the hell is that old man trying to do with that enormous pair of bolt cutters? He can hardly get his hands around them. 3 people warming themselves by the fire. They stare into the flames, as if their thoughts were also burning in that rusty old drum.
Parliamo col vecchio.
Help me, please! Help me! Don't let them find me in the street after curfew. They'll take me to the refugee camp. Help me, please! But don't make any noise. There's a patrol just round the corner.
I'm looking for a place. Something like a pharmaceutical warehouse. Would you know anything about that?
I don't really know. There's a small medical center just outside the city limits. I suppose you mean that, right? They built it in a hurry, just knocked it together after the Great Wave. No one really knows what it's for, but there are vehicles going in and out of the place all the time. Whatever they're doing in there, they're keeping it very secret. Not even my daughter would tell me what goes on inside.
Did you say your daughter?
Yes, my daughter. My little Uma. She works there as a nurse. I'm afraid she left me. I suppose she got tired of living with a frail, sick old man like me. Because one day she simply left the house, and I haven't seen her since. It's been months now. I think she was right to leave me. These times are hard enough. You don't want to burn yourself with someone like me.
Ma potrebbe essere un aggancio la figlia, eh?
But what is it you need me to do?
It's almost curfew. I need a place to sleep. I need a place to hide, or they'll send me to the refugee camp. Don't you understand?
What is all this about a curfew?
At curfew, the soldiers want the streets cleared. And the way they see it, if you're out on the street after curfew, it means that you've got nowhere to go. You don't have a home. You don't belong here. And that makes you a rat. And so they take you to the refugee camp. I can't go to the camp. Understand? I can't go there.
You need a roof over your head, and you don't have anywhere to go.
I used to, but it doesn't exist anymore. I owned an apartment a few blocks from here. The block was badly damaged by the Great Wave, but it was still standing.
And what happened to your home?
This morning, we had to evacuate the area in a hurry. We ran out in the streets with whatever we had on. Apparently, the foundation was starting to crumble. And a few hours later, all that was left of my home was a pile of smoking rubble, with 40 years of memories buried beneath it. But I can't let them take me to the camp. I need to get into another house before the curfew. Please, help me.
Okay, give me those bolt cutters. I'll see what I can do.
This house is empty, but the army has sealed it off. If I can just get this padlock off before curfew, I'll be safe. I need to get in here. But please, don't make too much noise. If the soldiers find us, they won't hesitate to kill us.
Impossible. I'm sorry. I can't do anything with this.
I need to get in there. I need to get in.
I'm sorry. I can't help you.
Help me, please.
Hello, friend. You look lost. Come over by the fire.
It's dying down, but maybe it'll last until curfew.
As long as those uniformed psychopaths don't decide to end our little get-together first, of course.
Hey, look! One of those magic bracelets from the camp. They say that place is a real hellhole. A kind of living death. So, you've come back from the dead. Do they call you Lazarus?
Well, you could put it that way. You were saying something about a curfew. What time does it start exactly?
Well, it depends on the mood of the soldiers in this zone. But you know it's time to go home when they start taking their guns out of their holsters.
Today they're extremely jumpy. I don't think it'll be long before they start insulting people and hitting them with their rifle butts.
You guys are awfully hard on them. It's just their crude way of showing us affection.
Oh, shut up! In any case, you don't have to worry. That bracelet means you don't have to hide from them. You know, that's one of the privileges that comes with it.
And you? Do you people have to hide?
We try to stay out of their way. The first rule is, be home before curfew. Anyone who isn't gets dragged off to refugee camp. That's one of the strictest laws the Great Wave imposed upon this city.
Why are you afraid of the soldiers? I'd heard that things function better here.
I don't know where you heard that, friend, but whoever told you that was lying. Here, things are very ugly and getting uglier every day. Everything's in short supply: water, food, medicine.
We have a surplus of just two things: misery and violence. Life is cheap here, and getting cheaper all the time, especially since the army took over.
The army. I see. And what happened to the other authorities? The politicians? The laws?
Those are distant memories from the old world, my dear. Get them out of your head, because all that collapsed like a house of cards. Since the Great Wave, no one's got any plan, strategy. We're all adrift.
He's right. The most reliable thing we have left is what you see around the corner. Armed teenagers in uniform on the streets, on the rooftops, just as scared as we are, or more, and shooting anything that moves.
I think our common destiny is to finally die of starvation, of disease, or boredom. I don't know which of the three options I find the most cruel. Who knows? Maybe the most sensible thing is to organize a group excursion and break into Suicide Park.
Suicide Park? Don't call it that. It's not funny. That name's as stupid as that hospital they built in such a hurry next to it. It's crazy. The entire city is starving and sick, and the soldiers keep those medical facilities locked up like Fort Knox.
Vediamo un po' cosa sto Suicide Park.
Did you say Suicide Park? Someone in the camp told me about that place.
And the first dark stars come out to hang from the sky. We could sit and count them together, you and I.
When the sun departs from Suicide Park. Yes, I recognize the song. But what the hell is it? Is there really a place with that name?
Yes, it exists. After the Great Wave, and when things were starting to get really ugly here, the weakest among us eased their suffering with a bullet, by overdosing, or by jumping from high places. You know how it is. All those dark stars had a hard time finding a reason to go on living.
There was a terrible wave of suicides, and there still is.
The problem is at some point a problem arose. How should I put it? A serious logistical problem. Access to drugs and firearms became practically impossible. So the easiest thing was to grab a rope or a belt and go to Suicide Park after dark.
There was a time when it was hard to find a free branch anywhere in the park.
The suicides in the area multiplied at such a rate that the army closed down the park. They said for public health reasons.
For months, the only thing blooming in that park were the corpses of the hanged. The place became more like a theme park. Lots of fun for everyone.
I told you not to make jokes about that. Don't you have any respect for anything?
Of course not. That was one of the many things I lost in the Great Wave. And one of the things I missed the least, believe me.
But what good is it having medical facilities if no one can use them? I don't understand.
No one does, friend, but that's the way it is. I don't know why anyone would want to go into that building, but I can assure you that they're not going to get treated for anything in there, not even for a miserable cold.
Besides, it's a real fortress. The person will be more likely to come out sick from an overdose of gunpowder and lead. You know how it is, dear. There's no cure for love or death. Hey, I like that last phrase. It would make a good opening line for a story.
Oh, will you shut up for once, Ramon? Don't pay any attention to him. In the old world, he earned his living writing stories, and he still thinks that all that waste paper might someday be useful after the Great Wave.
And in fact, it is. A good deal of that scrap paper is fueling this bonfire right now, dear. So I can consider my literary career to have been worthwhile.
And do you know how things are elsewhere? Do you get news from outside?
I'm afraid not. With no communications or transportation, and with the army on every corner, we are totally cut off.
Who cares anyway? When you don't know from one day to the next if you're going to be alive, there's no time to worry about what happens 100, 1,000, or 100,000 miles away.
I understand. Thanks for the chat.
Thanks for the company, friend.
Ma allora, ci hanno dato solo qualche notizia in più, niente di che.
Judging from what remains of the stained glass windows and the murals, this pile of rubble must have been a place of worship before the Great Wave struck. Now it's one of the most badly damaged buildings in the area. There are hardly any walls still standing. A few buildings are still standing, but most of them are propped up or about to fall down, with a handful of city dwellers in the street that look like automatons or sleepwalkers. But there's no doubt about it. I'm on the 5th Avenue of Doomsday City.
Allora possiamo entrare in chiesa. Sì, possiamo solo entrare in chiesa. Ah, no.
A metal sign bolted to the wall. It's the logo of the local subway system, and from what I can see, one of the edges is slightly detached. Let's see. I can try to rip it off. Nothing. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to get it off with my hands. What was formerly the entrance to a subway stop is now a bunker reinforced with bricks and cement. A moldy sign says, "Subway service suspended until further notice." I imagine the train tunnels were flooded or ruined after the Great Wave.
Poi possiamo ancora andare a destra. Proviamo a entrare in chiesa. Ma...
Send us a sign, Lord. We need a sign from you.
We